The question to be pondered. Are you ready for this? Sit down. The ride is about to get rough. The roller coaster is about to get real. Perhaps there is not and never has been a God who controls all things. Keep in mind, I didn't say never has been a God. I'm saying a God that controls all things. How then can we live? How can we live in a universe without an ultimate, omnipotent God who controls all things? Is it not terrifying to think that we might be in a post Christian world in which God, as we have known him, is truly dead? And more frightening, was never alive to begin with, was never real. That all the tradition with which we have identified is only to war against was wrong. Was it a misreading of the reality that made us the gift of the incarnation and resurrection? What if the hierarchical pyramid doesn't exist, never has existed? What if the cross doesn't have a crown? What if hearts open slowly and sing the songs of the dove? What if holding on will bring the seed to flower? What would the world be? How can we live if bringing the seed to flower depends not on a God who is conceived as the power at the top of the pyramid, whose will cannot be thwarted, but on ourselves and our participation in the purposes of a divine power that can only be power insofar as we participate? What if there is radical divine dependence upon human and animal and inanimate reality? What if there's no divine plan, no great puppeteer in the sky who knows all things and controls all things? What? So that we can be assured that ultimately the will of God will prevail, no matter how bleak it looks now. What if there's no Alpha and Omega, and we are not caught in the middle, beyond our birth and beyond before our death, simply trusting because we cannot see? What if the responsibility has been in our hands all these generations? What if we, both men and women, have misunderstood? And only now, as the greater terror reigns and the skeletons line the valleys, only now, as the future may disappear and fall out, can we see this clearly. We, both women and men, are so completely enmeshed in an image of God as the controlling, defining power out there and over us that it is very difficult to pull out new images, to conceive of power and the divine in different terms. If, however, we return the focus to Jesus, if we look at the revelation of God in the event of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, we may find a new way of seeing. It may be that the revelation is one of power, not as force and coercion, but as matrix, symbiosis, partnership. It may be that everything is connected, and my power, our power, is a crucial part of the whole. If that's so, the responsibility lies with me, with us, not to submit, to act, not to coerce, to move with, to shape, to form, to assist in freedom out of passion, not self denial. It may be that we have a choice whether to continue in a falsified version of the Christian faith, which has at its core an understanding of ultimate reality as power over, or to reclaim the vision of the incarnation, the vision of power that lives from the center. And the first choice gives me, however, directivity, the possibility of my own sphere of power over others, power over those I love, power over the students, the parishioners, the animals, the ground I work in the growing months, power over my own body. The second choice overturns hierarchies of power over. It sings ancient songs and new ones, which croon of freedom and mutuality and interdependence and circles and connections. It sings of breaking shackles, rejecting all that which breeds death and doom and pyramids. It sings the enfreshment of the breathing, rejoicing, laughing future. This folk tale made me think about the quote from Susan Davis, the possibility of no God that then moves to God as power with. God as matrix partnership and connectiveness. Our power is part of the whole. Responsibility lies with us to move with, to shape, to form, to assist in freedom out of passion. In some respects, it can be scary, both challenge and invitation, as it speaks of mutuality and interdependence. Once upon a time, as most fables begin, there was an old, wise, blind woman, the daughter of slaves. She lived alone in a small house outside of town. She had a reputation for wisdom and was honored far and wide. One day, some impudent young people decided to play a mean trick on the woman. They came to see her and posed a question. "Old woman, I hold in my hand a bird. Tell me whether it is living or dead." She didn't reply, for she couldn't see them, much less what they were holding. They repeated their question, "Is the bird living or dead?" Her silence was her answer. She was thinking, because she knew their motive. If she said the bird is living, they will squeeze so hard that it would kill it to prove her wrong. If she said the bird is dead, they could throw it at her to prove her wrong. She waited so long to reply that the young people snickered, thinking they had her stumped. When she finally spoke, it was slowly, and her soft voice was a reprimand. She said, "I don't know whether the bird you're holding is dead or alive. What I do know is that it is in your hands. It is in your hands." Another version goes like this. High on a hilltop overlooking the beautiful city of Venice, Italy, there lived a wise old man whose people called a genius. Legend had it that he could answer any question posed to him. Two local boys decided they could fool the old man. Figuring they had a plan that was perfectly foolproof, the boys caught a small bird headed for the hilltop. As they approached the wise old man, one of the boys held the little bird in his hands. "Wise old man," he said, "could you tell me if the bird in my hands is dead or alive?" The old man sized up the two boys, and without hesitation, he answered, "Son, if I tell you that the bird is alive, you'll close your hands and crush the bird to death. If I say the bird is dead, you'll open your hands and he'll fly away. You see, son, in your hands, you hold the power of life and death." The boys looked at one another in total amazement. The old man truly is very wise, they thought. They had not fooled him for 1 minute. The old man then stroked his long white beard and gently smiled. This, I say to both of you, without qualification, he explained with a sincere, caring voice. In your hands, you hold the seeds of failure or the potential for success. Your hands are very capable, but they must be used for the right things. They must be used to reap rewards that you are capable of attaining. As the boys descended from the wise old man's hill, a new attitude overtook them, and they eagerly freed their captive bird. And they both watched the bird flap his wings and fly to freedom. The boys realized how very precious the old man's advice was. Yet another reads, once there was a wise old woman who lived in a small village. The children of the village were puzzled by her wisdom, her gentleness, her strength. One day, several children decided to test the old woman. They believed that no one could be as wise as everyone said she was, and were determined to prove it. So the children found a baby bird, and one of the boys cupped it in his hands and said to his playmates, "We'll ask her whether the bird I have in my hand is dead or alive. If she says it's dead, I'll open my hands and let it fly away. If she said it's alive, I'll crush it in my hands, and she'll see that it is dead." So the children went to the old woman and presented her with a puzzle. "Old woman," the boy said, "this bird in my hands, is it dead or alive?" The woman became very still, studied the boy's hands. Then she looked carefully into his eyes. "It's in your hands whether the bird will stay alive or will die," she said. Perhaps the bird represents the spirit, history, language, and stories of our traditions, our justice, love, movement, and our lives. Whether this spirit brings life or death is really a matter that is, to no small degree, strongly in our hands.